Pause on what you're doing and pay attention. The day of the exam, once you have a question working, what you're going to do, you're going to commit and push. And label your question. Not like that. Okay? That's very typical when you're in a rush. But you have to take your time and say question 1 or whatever, right? And you're going to commit and push. You're going to call me over. Huh?
How many questions are there?
3 or 4? Yeah. I think it's 3, but it could be 4. I have to double check. So label your question, commit and push, and you can call me over to check you off if you want. Now here, I want to be very clear about the checkoff. If I check you off, I'll put a mark in your exam, but the checkoff does not guarantee any marks. Later, I'm going to check your code, and that's going to be your mark. Now, what is the checkoff even useful for that? Well, it could be useful for many things. First, you call me over, I check you off, and I can tell you if you are on the right track or not. If what you're showing me is not what I'm asking, I give you immediate feedback, and then you can fix it. So that's one advantage of doing the check. Second, if you made a mistake and something went terribly wrong, catastrophe, whatever, and your repo disappeared, I still know that I checked you off, so I know that you had that question working, so we can kind of try to work it out, okay? So the checkup is useful, but don't get too stressed out about the checkup. Okay, the most important thing is that you do 1 commit per question, okay? Now, you can do all the checkups at the end if you want. I normally write the exams in a progressive way that the next questions do not interfere with the previous ones, but that could happen, which is why we do this. Because if you do 1 commit per question, let's say you commit and push question 1, and then in question 2 you break your code, I can always branch out of question 1 and I can mark that question. Okay? But if you didn't commit and push for that question, and then you broke your code, how do we undo whatever you did? Right? It's complicated. That's why I ask you to do the 1 commit per question. Okay? It also shows me your progress. Any questions about that? So that's the dynamic day of the exam. Okay? So you are supposed to commit and label your questions here in your exam repository. That's the most important thing, that you commit and push to your exam repository. But at the very end, once you're done, for example now, because now we're done with this testing, you want to go back to your home repository. And your home repository should show some stuff here that is basically showing the changes in the stub module. And you should also commit and push those so the both repositories are in sync, your home repository and your exam repository. It looks like you already committed? Yeah. Committed? Yeah. So, and the way to test this, from your home repository, you're going to go repository, view on GitHub. And in here, you should be able to see your exam repo just the same way you see the in-class demos repo with a little arrow here. If that is the case, means that everything is in sync. You should be able to click on your exam repo from here. Now, if you forget this step the day of the exam, it's not the end of the world because I can do it on my end. But if you forget to commit and push to the exam repo, that is bad because then I cannot see it on my end. Okay? So you need to commit and push. That's how you submit your work. Just to be clear, the reason why we're doing this, like this, in this very complicated way, is so this guy can work with the libraries that you already have. If for some reason you decide to put a copy of these libraries inside your repo, your exam repo, that's going to make me very unhappy because that's not what I want. I want you to use your existing libraries for multiple reasons. I don't want libraries to just appear the day of the exam. I want to see the progress of you creating your libraries. And I want those to be used with your exam, not something magical that appears the day of the exam. Okay? So if you're going to add anything before the exam or on the day of the exam, by all means, but add it here to your libraries here, if it's a library. Okay? Now, in your exam repository, it has already a project created. Okay? So let's open that project. We go inside the, well, we can go from the home or from the exam repository. It doesn't matter. We just look for the exam 1 folder. And we open in this exam 1 the project. It's called exam 1. And this has something already created for you. It has something on the header. Even on this, in this section where it says name, it says this is you. You should add your name there. Okay? Maybe you want to do that right now. In fact, between now and the day of the exam, you can add whatever you want to this file or this project. It's okay, it's allowed, because you don't know what I'm going to ask you in the exam. So if you want to start adding your libraries, add them. If you want to start adding comments, dates, prompts, whatever you want to add, go ahead. Now this project, if you go to the options, it already has the printf, scanf enabled for the width, precision, and everything you may need for the exam, as in you will need. It also has the preprocessor directive or the user include directories for the libraries. So let's make sure that that works. Maybe add a library and make sure that it can find it, right? Use a process. You can do that today. Any questions? Yeah, and I gave you a bonus line here, enabling the Power Interface. You know what else to add there, right? You can start adding those things right away. You may say, well, I don't know if Carlos is going to ask me to use port A, B, C, D, or E, whatever. Maybe enable all of them. I don't know if it's going to ask me to use user 1 or 2. Well, I will ask you to use user 2 only, right? To be honest, because we're not using any external device. So maybe you want to do that first. You want to make sure that it's working beforehand, right? You can do so. Use the time that you have between now and Wednesday wisely. Yeah. She's not showing you what? No, because it's not supposed to. Because you are. Your libraries are pretty much like okay. This is your home, right? Your libraries are here. So you're, well, I don't know. Where do you need your libraries? I don't know. You seem to love the OneDrive so much. Yeah, so your libraries should be in your home repository. If they are not, maybe you forgot to push, or at home or something. Or from your laptop. Have you forgotten to push from your laptop lately? Check your laptop. Yeah, make sure your libraries are pushed, guys, because otherwise you won't be able to see them. Oh, that is you probably have to do this. So when you go to your home repo, you just want to do a commit and push them. So see. Yeah, commit and push them.
Able to pull when changes are present.
Again, feel free to add whatever you want here to get prepared for the exam. It's allowed. You can commit and push them. That's interesting. Any more questions? Everyone okay with the repo? Okay, so we got till 8 p.m. to get this sorted out because at 8 p.m. I'm going to start talking about the clock system. Unless you guys have questions for the exam. In terms of the economy. Oh, it's because you have conflicts. You are working your assignment here, you have to decide which one you choose. So, which one you wanna? Yeah, because the problem is that in this, you are you got something in here that is different than what you have in the cloud. So, which one is the one that you wanna keep? In the cloud? Use the modify function here. Not for sure which one it is. Okay, we can open it, not that one. You don't have the scroll itself? Okay, try and do it. Okay, so do something. No. So do you have anything here? Why is this not? So this part, which one you wanna accept? You wanna keep this one, the incoming change? Anything else? That's when you have conflicts where what you have locally is different than what you have in the cloud. Because what happens is that you go home, you do some work, you push, and then when you get here, you get your So, guys, something very interesting that we're seeing here, and this is important info. You might be working here in something. Then you go home, and at home you modify your library, right? You commit and push. Or every time you make a change, you commit and push. Let's say you did that. But then when you came back to the lab, the first thing that you should do before you get to work on a computer different than the last one that you worked at is to pull the changes from the cloud. So do the fetch before you start working. Because if you start working and then you try to push something, then it's going to conflict with whatever you have on the cloud. And if that conflict happens, then we need to do a merge and a conflict resolution there and decide which one is the one that you want to keep, the one on the cloud or the one that you have locally. So if you want to avoid all those issues, always when you start, fetch first, pull the changes, and then start working. Okay? Otherwise, we can still solve the conflicts, but it's a bit more tricky.
Also, did you want us to change the name?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sorry. I thought I did that. Yeah, let's change this name. Let's do that. We could call it Exam 1 TMP 12. I thought I changed that. You know that you didn't propagate the change. Go here and rename the project, please. Go into your project, rename it. Excellent question. Thank you. Name it to something meaningful. Save the thing. And now you can commit and push. See, when you are in your home repo, every time you change something in the submodule, it's telling you that the submodule changed. But do not try to push here because you need to go to the submodule. So what you're going to do is select it and say open repository. That's going to open the submodule. I'm gonna commit and push here. Then I go back to the main repo, and I can now commit the submodule changes. Yeah, rename the project, because he has a weird name, LED2, whatever. So change that to exam 1. Yeah, solution and project. Yeah, it's annoying, I thought I changed it.
Now, what if you accidentally did some Git stuff and you deleted your UART library?
You can always undo that's the good thing about the version control, that everything that you delete or make a mistake, you can always roll back. The problem is that you need to know how to do it. So at that point, you might require my help. Like to send an SOS or something.
I'm sending an SOS.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay, we can look it up for sure. Yeah, let's take a look now. Because we're continuing at 8. If I have no questions, I'm starting the clock system. So you got 10 minutes to think about a question for the exam. Otherwise, I will assume that everything is super clear.